I understand you are going to be warning China about the flood. I mean, Chinese goods are so heavily government subsidized. Their electric vehicles, their lithium batteries, solar panels. So you're going to be taking that on.
Yellen to warn China on excess production capacity wants constructive talks. This is your favorite half Chinese, and with all due respect, but who is Yellen to warn China about anything considering the economy of China? Yellen cannot even take care of her own economy in the United States. The US economy is a train wreck who just had a train wreck on a train wreck and just another train wreck. And what went? Oh yeah, a bridge collapsed on the train wreck. I mean, honestly, it's too ridiculous. And it's only getting worse. But let's see.
Are we about to get into a trade war with China?
This is the weirdest ever. I mean, doesn't she know that there is a trade war going on ever since the United States started a trade war on China? I mean, where has she been?
Well, we need to make clear what our concerns are, and I believe we have very legitimate concerns. There is no country in the world that subsidizes its preferred or priority industries as heavily as China does.
Then why don't you do the same? Instead of spending trillions of dollars on wars that are just people all over the world and is creating all kinds of destabilization in the world and making prices go up. So the American taxpayers are also suffering from high inflation. Why are you not using that tax money to reinvest it back into your own country? Ever thought of that? That's exactly what China is doing. And that is exactly what their success is.
And clean energy, whether it's electric cars, battery, solar producers, the producers in China have received massive subsidies.
Again, do the same. Why is it so hard for the US regime to take taxpayers' money and invest it in their country? I don't understand. I mean, isn't that what tax money is for? I thought it was. I'm sure it is. And I'm sure it is not meant to fund wars all over the world.
And I believe China's desire is to really have global domination of these industries.
Well, China is doing business. Instead of wars and political manipulations, it focuses purely on business. Therefore, they gain dominance. Also, China and the Chinese are always willing to learn. The US regime, on the contrary, always thinks it's better than everybody. Therefore, they stop learning. Therefore, you're now lagging behind. Whether China would like to dominate those industries is actually not relevant, because even if they don't want to, they still will, because you're lagging behind, wasting resources and valuable times on wars and other geopolitical games. Instead of focusing on how to better the lives of your Americans who are actually paying your salary, you are focusing on destroying other nations. But let me tell you something, even if you destroy another nation, you still ain't.
The firm that I'll be visiting today was a successful producer of solar cells in the United States some years ago, and about 7 years ago, because China flooded the market with solar panels, drove down the prices to levels at which virtually no American company could compete.
So because the US regime has created the economic environment that US companies are now unable to compete, the whole world, and China in particular, needs to change. Like, it's hysterically laughable, although it's nothing to laugh about. Dear Yellen, the world does not evolve around the US. I'm sorry to bring you that bad news and shatter your dreams. If you want to be able to compete, you need to create an economic-friendly environment for your businesses. Nobody is telling you that you cannot do the same, but you need to be willing to change. You need to be willing to tell the Americans that you have failed them. But now you will change and reinvest their money back into them. Instead of listening to your military complex and using money on wars that most Americans don't even want to be in. Except for your donors, who are a bunch of psychopathic mischiefs of society who should be in prison. And because the manufacturer industry doesn't have good lobbies and not enough good funds to bribe your politicians in your regime, they will not get the support of your regime. And that is the honest truth. That is what you need to say on television.
Intend to talk to the Chinese when I visit about overcapacity in some of these industries and make sure that they understand the undesirable impact that this is having, flooding the market with cheap goods.
And I always thought that Americans love cheap goods. I guess they want to pay more than what is in their brain. Honestly, before that, she said this.
So the president has indicated, and I certainly agree, that getting the cost of living down should be number one economic priority.
Yes, you heard that right. But do we see how contradicting she actually is? She wants the prices to be high. Otherwise, she would invest the tax money back into their country, as they should, to create a desirable and sustainable manufacture industry that would be able to compete with China, as the US loves to compete so much. Maybe they should take a lesson from China's playbook in not competing, just trying to better yourself and compete with yourself instead of with others. It seems to be working for China, whether you like to hear that or not. China is outcompeting the United States with everything except wars. There, the United States is still number one. Sorry, I had to stick it to you. While they are not even competing with the United States. Anyways, so what will happen is probably those industries will be labeled as a national security threat. Then they will go around the world and coerce other countries to not buy from China, or else then they themselves will buy the goods from China for a cheaper price and sell it off to the ones they ordered not to buy from China. Wasn't that the American textbook? And mind you, it's not a problem about wages in China, because the wages of manufacturers has gone through the roof. They are just better in their automation of everything. My advice to the Americans and the American regime is honestly, get some help. Get rid of your fetish of always wanting to be number one, but just try to be the best version of yourself every day. And that was a free advice from MrFong. Stop your idiotic behavior that is so detrimental to your own country and the American people that pay your salary to do their bidding, not the bidding of Wall Street and not the bidding of the military complex. And when you change that, their lives will change for the better, and one day you will see that you are far ahead. Your streets should be of gold. That's how much money the United States has. But instead, the streets are full of beggars.
I'm homeless. I work a full-time job, 40 hours, and can't pay to live here.
Because that's how the US regime treats its own people that pay the salary of the US regime. A very sad but true story of an imperialistic empire that is crumbling because its regime has been taken over by the greed of corporates, and that is why it's now a fascist plutocracy. Instead of a democracy, it's socialism for the rich. Instead of socialism for the poor, it's the exact opposite of what's good for the 99% of Americans. A sad story indeed. Please let me know in the comment section what you all think of this, but please keep it respectful. We are not uncivilized barbarians unlike some others. And please drop a like, share, and if you have not yet, then follow. This was your favorite half Chinese, and as always, have a great day.